guys, welcome back to another episode of Mind Muscle Connection podcast. And today I'm going to have a solo episode, and this should kind of be a timely one. So this should come out on December 23rd. So it's kind of week of Christmas, holidays were in full swing. I probably could have had this one come out a little bit earlier, but I thought it was still going to be a good time, especially for this week and the next couple weeks, with some of these holidays, and then as we go into the new year. But first, before I dive into that, I just want to kind of give a scheduling update. So obviously, if you listen to this in the future, disregard this, but if you like to listen when these come out, so December 23rd, 2024, this will come out. I'm only going to do 2 episodes this week. My Wednesday will be Christmas, and so I don't want a new episode to come out on that day, so I'm going to take that day off, and our regular scheduled release dates will start back up on the 27th on Friday, and that will be a guest episode with, I believe, Lou Gleeman. So that'll be a really cool episode to kind of start off post Christmas there with that. So only 2 episodes this week there, and so just wanted to get that out of the way. So let's dive into today's topic. So what I want to talk about today is so last week I was having a call with a client, and she kind of told me, I want to come out of the holiday season not feeling puffy, bloated, and just feeling terrible, right? I think for her, in the past, she would always just kind of come out of this period of time just not feeling good, right? And then and then this I feel like leads to people being like, hey, I need to do this like weight loss diet. I need to feel better. And again, it doesn't have to be that way. And so we came up with some strategies that she could work on to make sure that she felt good during this period of time, but she could also enjoy and didn't have to like fat loss diet in this process. So here's 5 things we discussed, and I'm actually going to add in a couple that I thought were important. One that I didn't discuss on social media with my post, and then a bonus one as well too. So the first thing, hey, let's make sure we keep lifting weights. Don't make this be a time where now you just, you're busy, you got a lot going on, and then you just don't exercise or move or anything like that. Like, we still want to make sure we lift weights. This extra energy you eat during the holidays could fuel muscle growth, right? It could put you in a good position for that, and it helps your body use extra energy more effectively. And this happens by directing it to your muscles for growth and glycogen storage rather than storing it as fat. So really what happens here is, if we bring in this influx of energy, through, holiday treats, whatever it may be, and then we don't do anything, right? We don't exercise or anything. That extra food doesn't really have anywhere to go. This isn't to say that you need to train to like, oh, hey, you ate calories and I need to go burn it off. Like, that's not necessarily what that is. It's like, I like to think of it as, hey, we're directing that food into the right places by doing this. Now, in saying that, no matter what, if you eat to the point to where you're stuffed, you eat a ton of treats, you have no good nutrition habits in place, no exercise is going to replace that there. But again, if you're someone who, maybe you eat a little bit more than normal during this period of time, or maybe you don't necessarily make, the greatest choices that you always like, that you typically do, again, by lifting weights, that's going to really help your body utilize the food that you give it. There again, we have a place for that extra energy to go if we have that. But in general, it just also helps you feel better mentally, and you just from an overall health perspective, you feel good by continuing to lift weights and do exercise, right? So we definitely want to do that. And the cool thing with this is, really as little as 2 times per week during this time is going to help. So you don't have to like go to the gym 5 days a week either to do this. Maybe you typically work out 4 to 5 days a week. Well, hey, maybe during this week you're just doing it twice because you have a lot going on. Just that little bit is going to go pretty far during this period of time. And if you're somebody who does regularly lift, you can make sure too that, hey, this could be a week where maybe you do just kind of dial it back. Maybe you typically do 4 or 5. Now you're just going to do 2 this week. You get that benefit of, hey, your body's still going to, we're going to direct that food to go to places where we want. And, you can get a nice little break from always pushing it as well too. So again, we want to make sure we maintain lifting weights during this period of time. Next, to go off of this, we want to do our cardio and stay active. Again, this also gives our body a place to utilize the extra energy. And it also helps you feel better mentally to stay active during this time, right? You're also, again, just going to feel better by moving. So the other day, we had a cookie baking with Allie's family, and it was on a Sunday. Ended up not playing hockey that day, to do this, right? Like, obviously, family stuff like that's super important. So I didn't play hockey that day, and yeah, moved around a little bit, but not too much. And so it was, we got back that night. It was like 6, 7 o'clock. And I was like, man, I need to do some cardio for today. And again, my thought process wasn't to do cardio to burn off the calories that I consumed. Because again, that day it was, some cookies, some chips and dip, pizza and stuff like that, right? Like that kind of day, again, the typical things that you'll have when you have these kind of events. And I just, didn't feel great because, I didn't necessarily have, again, sometimes that food just doesn't make me feel as good, but hey, it tastes good. And again, it was something I wanted to do. So at the end of the day, I was like, you know what, I want to do some movement because I just felt like I just had a ton of energy in my body in general. And I also knew, the amount of calories I had. I was like, you know what, I want to direct this energy and I want to utilize some of this energy that I have. So got on the bike for 20 minutes, right? And again, I didn't really have any goal other than, hey, just want to go bike for 20 minutes, get some movement in. And again, not only to help me expend some of that energy, but to also feel better overall. And then when I was done, I felt much better, and I felt good about that. And then I had that night, I was like, hey, I want some micronutrient dense type foods, right? Spinach salad with other like kind of veggies on top of it, some strawberries and blueberries, and then a Greek yogurt, for some protein. So again, that's just kind of an example of how you can utilize that. We're not doing it to like burn off the calories, right? It's not like, oh, hey, I need to go do this to burn off the calories. It's like, hey, I want to do this because I know I have this extra energy and I know it's going to make me feel good. And that's why we're doing it. Right. And again, I think the mindset side of things is super important there with that. So again, what we want to do here is we want to make sure we maintain, anywhere from 8 to 12K steps per day. You don't have to hit those exact numbers. I think the point being is we want to make sure that we're still getting some movement and try to get in as much movement as you can, and 1 to 2 dedicated cardio sessions per week, kind of as an added bonus there with that. But again, we need to make sure we exercise and stay active and move during this period of time. We can have all these tips and tricks, but if we're not doing that, you're probably not going to feel your best no matter what. And again, if we're not doing that, we're going to end up kind of getting backed up here with a ton of energy and our body being like, I don't know what the hell to do with all this, right? So again, it can help kind of offset that and again, direct it to areas where we want it to go versus storing it as body fat. So those are the two main ones. Again, I think if you do those two things, you're in a good spot. So make sure you maintain your activity levels. Again, you wouldn't be surprised. Like I already see it now, with clients. You have your ones that no matter what, they're going to go work out. And you have some that are, really pushing themselves to go during this period of time. And then you just inevitably have the, select few that now they're just not doing anything during this period of time. And it is like kind of a grind to get them to go. And again, I think that's the worst thing you can get into. And I think it comes down to a few things. I think it's obviously time, but then it's also the expectations. And so, part of this is on me, I feel like too, but again, you can only lead a horse to the water. You can't make them drink it, but it's also the expectations around like what to do. It's like, again, this probably isn't the greatest time to try to get as shredded as you possibly can. This isn't the period of time, where you need to go to the gym, fight. Like, again, it's all about expectations and doing these things, to help us in terms of how we feel, right? And not necessarily doing it from like a body composition standpoint. Like, I think that's a cool thing with exercise is sometimes we can utilize it for that in terms of the mental benefits. And I think people often overlook that side of it, right? It's just always about, oh, I got to burn the most calories. I got to be progressing. I need to have the best body comp right now. And again, sometimes we need to step away from that. And should be more about how you feel. Next, we want to stay hydrated. Again, I can't I can't overstate this enough in terms of how often I feel like people don't hydrate themselves enough, right? And it's usually if they're drinking, it's either coffee or alcohol during this period of time. Again, we want to make sure we get some fluids in, right? When you're dehydrated, your body holds on to water. This can make you feel bloated and sluggish. Drinking enough water keeps things balanced and helps you feel lighter and just more energized. Even a small amount of dehydration can impact how you feel and your training performance as well too. So again, I think it comes back to how you feel. If we're not hydrating, we're not going to feel as good. We're going to kind of feel sluggish. We're going to kind of feel like some brain fog. And then on top of it, if you're doing some drinking from an alcoholic standpoint, that's only going to make things worse there. And then you try to, combat that with more coffee. And then it's just this up and down and you're not hydrating yourself either. And so again, you're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel puffy. You're going to feel bloated when you do that. So again, we want to make sure we are drinking some water here in this process. Again, we want to prioritize sleep, right? A well-rested body is going to regulate hunger hormones better and handle stress more effectively. And you just feel better when you get sleep. You don't have to sleep 10 hours a night, but we want to make sure you make good sleep a priority. So we still want to have our good sleep hygiene practices in place. Again, I think when people hear good sleep, they're like, oh, I got to sleep, 12 hours a night. And again, that's not what we're looking for. Yes, we don't want to just sleep 3 hours a night. And at that point, yes, you would probably need to get more sleep, but we want to have good sleep hygiene practices in place. We want to have a nice little wind down routine. We don't just want to like be super amped up and then try to go to bed. Again, you're not going to get good quality sleep when you do that. We want to try to get outside as much as we can earlier in the day, get some sunlight. We want to avoid caffeine too late in the day. We want to avoid alcohol too close to bed as well too. We want to, try to keep the same sleep and wake times. Again, I understand that, hey, when we have events come up like this, during these couple of weeks, it's a lot harder to do that. But again, try to not let that go too far off. So And understand too, you have one night where maybe things aren't great. That's fine. Then the rest of the time you need to start to do it. It's where, again, it's this entire 2 to 3 week, 4 week, 5 week span where you're just, doing all those things I talked about. And again, that's going to start to add up and you're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel bloated. You're going to feel puffy. Next, we want to fuel our body with nutrient dense foods when we can. If your diet is just cookies, pizza, and alcohol and party foods, you're going to feel like crap, puffy, and bloated. Again, we want to enjoy this stuff, but we also need to make sure we add in some things like protein, veggies, fruit, and other whole foods. So we need to take this approach of, hey, I'm not necessarily going to try to restrict, but I'm going to add in other foods that I know make me feel good and my body needs, and it's going to help my body feel the best it can. Again, for just eating these things that I talked about, you're not going to feel good in this process, right? So again, we need to make sure that we're fueling our body with nutrient dense foods and think about adding them in versus, oh, hey, I can't have this, I can't have that, I can't have, again, that's a tough way to go. And that's usually where people end up being, and they kind of shoot themselves in the foot there with that. So those were kind of the main ones, but I wanted to go over a couple others. Do some form of stress management during this time. So again, this doesn't mean you need to sit down and do 30 minutes of meditation daily. It's, hey, just make sure you're slowing down. You are taking some deep breaths. And if you can do some breath work, that's perfect. But again, just doing things that get you to kind of slow down and relax, right? We don't just, because this is a time I feel like that can be stressful. It can be go, go, go. You're just always on the go doing things and we never can slow down. And again, that's not going to be great. You're not going to feel great when you do that. You're more likely to impact your sleep. You're more likely to not go and work out. You're more likely to not make good choices. You're going to retain some water, right? You're going to feel puffy, bloated because you're super stressed. So again, we need to make sure we do some form of management during this time. And then the last one I have here as a bonus is moderate alcohol. Again, we want to enjoy some drinks if that's your thing, but we have to moderate it. If you just consume alcohol, like the more you do, the more often you do it, the more it's going to impact how you feel. It's going to impact your health, your body composition, everything, right? I mean, that's the unfortunate truth. I made a post on alcohol and it's like, at the end of the day, the more you do, the more it's going to impact you. You can't sit there and get wasted 2 or 3 nights a week and expect to be in good health and, have the body composition that you want. Like, again, there's got to be some sacrifice there. But in saying that, we still want to enjoy. So we just need to be smarter about how we go about. If you are interested in like how to manage that, just shoot me a message on Instagram, Jeff, and just shoot me over alcohol, and I'll send you a video that I made for my clients in our client portal going over, how to manage alcohol and kind of the ins and outs with that. So if you want kind of more tips on how to manage that, I'll shoot that over to you. Just message me on Instagram and just say, hey, listen to whatever episode this is, 536, I believe this will end up being. Yeah. And then say alcohol, and then I'll know to shoot that over for you. So to kind of sum this up, to me, this period of time shouldn't be about gaining weight or losing weight or like trying to improve your body composition. It should be about maintaining your healthy habits into the new year by feeling good. When you feel good, you give more to your family, your friends, your job, and everything else you do, right? Including your health and fitness. So again, we want to focus on the things that we know are going to make us feel good. And these are the things that are going to do it. Again, you don't have to be perfect with all of these, but we want to try to get as many things in our favor as we can, right? So, really look at which one you feel like you could work on the most here and start to work on that. Like which one do you think is your biggest limiting factor? Work on that. And then again, still make sure you do all these things as best as you can there. But just understand if any of these really do kind of fall off and they're like at zero, that's going to hold you back overall, right? So what I mean by that is, if you aren't exercising at all, well, it's like you could stay hydrated, prioritize sleep, feel your body, like you're going to be fine. But, again, that is going to hold you back. If you're absolutely not staying hydrated, again, you could be doing all these other things, but that's going to be something that's probably going to kind of anchor everything else essentially, right? So I think everything here is important, but in terms of like how much you do of them, it ultimately comes down to, where you're currently at. But again, the more of these we can do, the better off you're going to be. So hopefully that was helpful. I hope everybody enjoys their holidays, and we will be back with a guest episode later this week. That will be episode 537. I believe it's with Luke Lehman, I think is that one. And then we will go back to our normal Monday, Wednesday, Friday release dates there. So that's it for me. Talk to you guys soon.